Now, we talked this past week about direct marketing as a baseball game. I love analogies. I know sometimes they probably land, sometimes they may not make a lot of sense. Hopefully, I guess depending on where you're at, and I think most people have a pretty decent sense of how the game of baseball works, but that's what we've been talking about this past week. Direct marketing is baseball. And if you reverse engineer that, the goal of baseball is what? It's to score runs. And how does that happen? A player crosses home plate, which for us, that's analogous to getting a paid voiceover job. But to get there, what happens? Do they go directly from at bat to home plate? Well, on occasion it happens because somebody hits a home run. It's possible that you do some direct marketing that occasionally somebody's going to reach back directly to you and say, "Hey, I need you for a job." It happens. But that's the exception, it's not the rule. So you have to have a game plan. So to get the player from home plate at bat back around to home plate to score, they've got to pass through third base, second base, again, we're reverse engineering this, and first base. First base, I like to think of as after you send out your email, which is an at-bat, and by the way, let me say this, you've got to have leads for this entire thing to work, which are your batters. Every time you send out a direct message, a direct marketing message, be it by telephone or most likely email, when you send out that email, you're putting another player at bat. It's another swing. It's another opportunity. So you need access. You need access to those leads. And getting on first base is when your lead, the person that you emailed, goes to your website. Once they land on your website, now they're taking action on your action. They're reacting to what you've done, showing some sense of interest. They're on first base. How do we move them to second base? Listening to your demos. That's when they start to dive a little deeper. And once they start listening to your demos, now you have an opportunity. Remember, your demos create opportunities. What happens after that? Well, if they like what they hear, and if the timing is right, the next thing we want them to do is to reach back out to you. At that point, they're no longer a lead. At the point they reach back to you, they are a prospect. All right, this is a person you're in communication with, and from there you can continue to communicate and to nurture them into a regular client. So that's what it looks like. Now, as we discussed earlier this week, the big problem with that is that the base paths between first base and third base traditionally have been dark. In other words, if somebody visits your website as a result of your email, do you know it? The vast majority of people are going to say no. Did the person that you email listen to your demo? And I don't mean just anybody listening to your demo. I mean the person that you reached out to. Do you know when they do that? What about moving to third base? Well, that's when the light begins to come on because that's when they reach back out to us. So the question becomes, how do we control and help to encourage and nudge people around the base paths? Well, that requires a spotlight and it requires a system. And that's what VO Flow is all about. It illuminates so you know when somebody responds to your email. You know when they're on your website. When they listen, you know they're listening to your demos. You know which demos they're listening to and when they listen to them, which allows you then to reach back out and communicate with them. Let me give you an example. Yesterday, I sent out 10 direct email messages. Within an hour, I already had activity on 2 of those emails. One of them visited my website. So what did I do? I followed up with a brief email. Not saying, I saw you're on my website. That might be a little creepy. But what I did say was, hey, by the way, just wanted to let you know that I'm always happy to record a sample recording for any upcoming projects that you may have. Just wanted to make sure that you knew that. So again, it's another reminder that, okay, he's here, okay. And if they like what they hear on the website, then I continue, or the demos, I continue to move them around the base paths.